Welcome back to the 12 Talk podcast with me, Josh, and my podcasting partner in crime, Mitch. Two very tired men after being in London, hoping the Jags would win against the Rams, but that's a completely different story. We've got a fantastic special guest tonight. As you can see, it's a crossover episode. We've got Bryce Coots from the Hawkseye Podcast. He's returning. We love having Bryce on, and we're going to have a fantastic talk about this hard-fought win against the Texans. Before we get into it, I think we should hit this intro and then we can bring Bryce in as soon as possible. What do you think, Mitch?
Yeah, let's do it.
Nice. Back at it again. We'll bring Bryce on very, very soon. But Mitch, how are you doing? How are you feeling?
Tired. Tired. No, I'm feeling good, actually. I feel really happy with the trip we've just come back from. I think there's a huge amount of pride attached to the way that the NFL community is growing in the UK, and it was beautiful to be there in person with you and some of our fans from the pod and the UK Seahawkers and the German Seahawkers. It was a pretty special day, actually, that I really, really cherished. So yeah, feeling really good.
And speaking of which, here you go. Some of the people that were with us. So that was our UK Seahawker, German Seahawker mashup there. So we've got Jonas, Mark, who else have we got there? Well, me, you,
Martin, Martin, Seamus Doody as well.
Yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. Just hanging out with everyone, speaking to NFL fans from different teams, as you can see from the lads there in the bottom corner. That was when we were at the Green Man. We spent most of the evening outside just talking to them about football and desperately convincing the gentleman that was in the Baltimore Ravens jersey to switch allegiances to the Seahawks. Hopefully successfully. You never know. But before we bring Bryce in, so we have a sponsor for the show, which is Flying V Sports Vintage Clothing. You can go and check them out. The link is below on our video. If you use our code 12Talk, you will also get 20% off your order. Not bad at all. So, shall we, without further ado, bring on Bryce? Because we love having on our pod. Obviously, Bryce is sharing this with his followers as well. And I just can't wait to get into this game. Shall we do it?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. And Bryce, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing okay, guys. How are you? Haven't been on for a while, but I'm glad to be on here talking Hawks with you guys. But last night was interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can't wait to sort of to chew this up with you, because I mean we held a watch party where everyone was sort of in our Discord chatting, and I was supposed to be up because it was a 3 a.m. kickoff here. However, I fell asleep so quickly that I didn't set an alarm, and I woke up at 6 o'clock to the sound of my daughter playing and was like, no. But luckily, I've had the day off today, so I've watched the whole game, and obviously I know we're all going to talk about it. We've got, for anyone who is new to the pod, thanks for joining. So we like to just have a quick talk about the game, how we felt about it. We're then going to go through our highlights, because everyone has the highlights you'll see on YouTube, but as fans, and for Bryce as a coach, he will probably spot things that other people may not have done. And then we come to my personal favorite segment, winners and losers. And after that, we'll get on to some of your comments as well. So, Bryce, what was your overall feeling after that game, apart from frustration?
Empty. I felt empty after that game. And the reason I say I feel empty after that game is that, to me, was a situation where you had an opportunity to really put a statement out to the NFL of how good you are. And we haven't seen a full game yet from the Seattle Seahawks, in my opinion, where we see special teams, offense, and defense all clicking at the same time, all playing at that elite level that we have seen sporadically throughout the season. So for me, it just leaves me kind of feeling empty. Like, yeah, I'm really happy they won. Defense played amazing. Special teams had a few blunders here with the blocked field goal and some iffy punt coverage coverage. And then the offense just looked like the wheels kind of came off there in the second half with it after the last couple minutes in that first half.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about the three phases things. I think that's going to be a hot topic for a lot of people. Mitch, how did you feel after, at, what was it, 5:30, 6 a.m. this morning? Apart from tired, how did you feel after that game?
I got into bed at 6:15 this morning. I was very lucky to have the day off. I felt like there was a lack of ruthlessness. I think when we went in at halftime, I remember looking at it and thinking we should have more points on the board at this point. Like, what? How and why have we allowed this to still be a contended game at halftime? This should be out of sight. And that didn't really get any better in the second half. You know, we continued to leave the door open ajar for them to potentially snatch it. It would have been a heartbreaking way to lose a game if we'd have somehow managed to do that. But I think you also need to understand that there are key pieces missing on defense as well that are due back after the bye week. And when you really look at what's happened over the last 3 or 4 weeks, we've managed to win games without those pieces, and with players like Tyler Carter and Drake Thomas, really, and Kendrick Bourne,
DeMar Kendrick,
yeah. The other DK.
These aren't household names, is the point I'm trying to make. Yeah, exactly that. So these guys are stepping up, and we've managed to get over the line. So we've tested the depth of the roster. I'd very much like to get back to the starting players on the roster after the bye week. But yeah, at least we've learned a lot about this roster over the last 4 weeks. So yeah, a bit of that in there as well.
I mean, I as much as I understand what you two say, for me, from a sports coaching point of view, even though we didn't put everything together, to be able to beat a team like the Texans, and this isn't the dumpster fire Texans from a few seasons ago, to be able to beat them in a less than convincing fashion, but still come away with a win, in the words of Vin Diesel, a win's a win. You know?
Did he say that?
Was it whether it's by an inch or a mile? Winning's winning. You know, that's what I took from it. If we can have those lapses on offense, defense, special teams, and still come away with a win, I'm not ecstatic, but I'm happy that we can grind it out and still come up with the W. So, with our general
making
thoughts,
of a championship team, isn't it? Sorry, I was just going to add that. Just you look at the Chiefs last year. I know they didn't end up winning the Super Bowl, but didn't they go 17-0, looking like garbage last year? What was it? They had a great record, but they performed very, very badly and looked way off it. You know, sometimes you need to just find a way to get there. That shows the grit and the intangibles that aren't necessarily on the stat sheet. You know, it shows the mentality. So yeah, there's a bit of that weaved in there as well.
Yeah, just grinding it out, and you know, that was sort of the biggest thing. And I mean, I think we'll get to our highlights first, and then obviously we can have a chat about them. I just want to say thanks to everyone who's joining. There was a few people that we met in London who were kind enough to talk to us, even if they weren't Seahawks fans, took a sticker, subscribed to the pod, and it's great to see some of you guys in the comments. But I really want to get to these highlights because obviously Bryce has sent me his, Mitch has sent me his, I've got my own, and I think there's a lot to be discussed for these. So, shall we start with our highlights? Bryce, you go first, my friend.
So my first highlight of the game is obviously the JSN touchdown, and the reason isn't so much because it was a touchdown for me. It was you got to see the toughness and the ability of Sam Darnold as a quarterback now to hang in the pocket, literally having Anthony Bradford, who is not a small individual, be shoved into his lap and throw a ball on time into a tight window for a touchdown. And those are throws I don't think we've seen Seahawk quarterbacks make for a very long time here. Like Geno had moments where he'd stand in a clean pocket and rip one in a tight window and it was great. The amount of times I think we saw Geno try and do that same thing and that ball ended up in the other team's hands happened at far too much of an increased rate for us as Seahawks fans and cost us some games, especially in the red zone. To see Sam do that and put it in that spot with Stingley in coverage on JSN, that to me was one of my highlights in this game because that just showed me, okay, Sam Darnold, what we saw in the Jets, what we saw in Carolina, that is another lifetime ago. The Sam Darnold we have now in the sample size, which I think is over being called a sample size. This is just who Sam Darnold is now, and I'm so thankful that is our quarterback.
And it's not the first one he's made this year. You think about the Torrey Horton touchdown as well against Tampa Bay, where he literally had, I think it was Charles Cross and Gray Zabel being dumped into his lap, and he managed to send that dot into the corner as well by the pylon, which I thought was just, it was a beautiful throw, and it's very much the same vein as what you're talking about here. And the fact that JSN had Stingley's number pretty much all day, barring an interception, I think it's proving now that JSN, there's not many more superlatives that we or other podcasters or Seahawks sort of personalities can say about him. He's just, he is on the verge of being in that elite category. After this season, I think if he carries on this way, that is the way people are going to talk about him. Mitch, what did you think of the TD there?
Yeah, it was a thing of beauty. I think one thing that Darnold's been doing really well is putting the ball in positions where typically only our player can get the ball. There's dropping the ball in buckets, and there's back shoulder throws, and there's all that kind of stuff. But when you really look at it, a lot of the time they're not calculated risks. They are just nicely positioned balls that are coming out on time. And he's decisive and confident, and he's got that synergy with his targets. It's looking really slick. There will be interceptions along the way. We play a game. Well, we don't play it, but we watch a game played by highly competitive individuals. People will make plays. People will force pressure upon your quarterback, and mistakes will happen. These are things that you expect. Where we've come from with the amount of turnovers to touchdowns, this feels pretty great, I've got to say. and it's in no small part due to the fact that he puts the ball where there is 80% chance we'll get it and 20% they can get it, or it goes off, it goes out of bounds. That is great quarterback play, and we're seeing it every week now. And like Bryce says, I'm glad he said it. This is no longer a sample size of good Darnold versus bad Darnold. I think this is what Darnold looks like in a well-coached team with good players around him. We saw it in Minnesota. We're now seeing it in Seattle. The boy can play. He can play. And it's not a sample size anymore. This is just what Darnold is when he's looked after with a good roster and coaches.
Agreed. And it's just nice to see, isn't it? After his trajectory in the NFL, being drafted so high to then hitting the absolute lows and being the starter / backup at Carolina, and then just it's on the up and up, and I can't wait to see it progress even more. Bryce, you had another highlight, didn't you?
Oh yeah, it was the fourth down stop. The run defense is just, it's playing at another level right now. And
so glad you brought up the run D.
But that whole group, and I think one name that's kind of getting forgotten in that group right now, because you talk about Leonard Williams, you talk about Byron Murphy, you talk about DeMarcus Lawrence, you talk about Ernest Jones, it's Jarran Reed. Jarran Reed, in my opinion, I think he is probably in the best shape he's been in as a Seahawk in his career right now, and he is making some phenomenal plays. They're asking him to do a lot when it comes to first down, run stopping, and he shot it. He completely shot that fourth down and basically just went right under the guard, was in the backfield, and literally made the running back bounce that right into Byron Murphy's lap. It was a thing of beauty, and that to me again is just, you're seeing this unit playing so well together, and there isn't necessarily a top edge player to add, that needs to be added to it. You've got a good group. This group's working, and they're playing phenomenal football right now.
Agreed. Mitch, what do you want to say about the D-line? Because I know we spoke about it over the weekend as well.
Yeah, I think the best compliment you can probably make for this D-line now is that the best way to add to the group is by adding to the defensive back room. You can, honestly, just make the quarterback hold that ball half a second longer on average, or a third of a second longer on average, and watch that team of defensive ends, D tackles, and edge rushers get home even more than they already are. Honestly, I think the personnel we've got fits the scheme perfectly. We rush with 4 more often than not, and we're getting genuine pressure, not just something that scores as a pressure on whatever metric you're going by. This is genuine pressure that is forcing mistakes out of quarterbacks now, and we're seeing that pressure get home in sacks. Was it 11 sacks over 2 games now? 7 and then 4. That's good.
Whilst predominantly rushing 4 instead of blitzing with more.
Predominantly rushing 4. I mean, last game, the game before this, we threw in a lot more blitz packages, I think. I don't think we did. So this game was a little bit less heavy on the blitz packages, wasn't it? But again, back to rushing 4 and consistently getting pressure. We do need to add a corner to that, but yeah, the run defense was superb. We're putting up a lot of pressure. We're getting home. And players like Murphy are really starting to look superb in there. And I couldn't agree more on Jarran Reed, by the way. There's a reason we've got a channel in our Discord just purely for appreciation for Jarran Reed, because he just feels like an underappreciated man for so long. We just have a channel in Discord where as soon as he does something, everyone's just in there with GIFs and memes and pictures and it's great. So yeah, love the shout out for Joe Reed in there too.
Yeah, I think the D-line itself it was much maligned before because our run stuffing ability was non-existent. We were getting gashed by the run for years, and it seems one of those things that we could never quite get our head around. Mike McDonald has come in with the addition of people like Big Cat, who I know everyone is saying Defensive Player of the Year, but let's face it, they base that all on stats and sacks, basically. If you're watching every Seahawks game like we are, you know how effective he has been within this D-line. Adding people like DeMarcus Lawrence, Jay Reed's in there, Byron Murphy now being able to kick out to 3-tech as well. And then you throw in your Hall, your Marfay as well. Jared Ivey got some game time as well yesterday. It's a nice rotation, and the fact we can cause so much pressure by rushing 4 and then being able to stop the run like we have, I think it's just a testament to how Mike Mack has got this team playing and how he's coaching them up. And I absolutely love to see it, because I think just there needs to be more props thrown at the big boys anyway, because as every coach will tell you, it starts up front. And with us at the front of that D-line, it's basically what's made us this year defensively. So yeah, I love that, Bryce. Just mentioning Jarran Reed and just the 4th down run stuff in, it's just the whole thing perfect. Mitch, did you have a highlight, my friend?
Yeah, it's not so much. This may not be something that people have picked out of the game. I was watching like a text commentary while watching the game last night, and one thing that really struck me, I don't know, I mean, Bryce will probably be able to tell me, but something that struck me was there was a hat trick of 3 and outs for Stroud, where all 3 downs were incomplete passes. And I don't know how often I've seen that, like to go 3 and out, throwing, and not making a single connection. Well, within there were some pretty terrible drops. I will say that there was a couple that were awful. But I think that for me was a highlight. We were getting off the field really, really well. The defense were outstanding, flying around, hitting. There's a tackle in there, actually, I need to give props to from Drake was it Drake Thomas? The one at the goal line where he just shot up the gut and just stopped it dead. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's my highlight. The fact that we've managed to, with the beaten up DB room, stop a player like CJ Stroud connecting a single pass on 3 sets of passing downs. It's miraculous. Love that.
Quick super chat here from Robert as well, just talking about the D-line from earlier. Just impressed with the D-line, but we need to take care of the ball. Don't worry, Robert, we'll be coming to that. I think that is on everyone's list. We will be showing your comments as we go through here as well. But yeah, I mean, Bryce, what were your thoughts on Mitch's highlight there?
I think that's where you see this Mike's simulation and pressure. He did bring more blitz this game. Like, there was the Ty Okada sack where he blitzed Drake Thomas and Ty Okada, and the running back had to pick one, and he made the right choice. Like, take the most inside guy. That's what running backs are taught in pass pro, the most immediate threat. But there was no one to pick up Ty Okada because of how Boy Mafe pulled the tackle out and just left this huge lane for Okada to go in. And so that's where you're seeing like the quick 3 and out and stuff that you're seeing when, especially when 3 incompletions in a row. Mitch, to your point, is Stroud was getting very much affected of paranoia pressure, as I call it with my quarterbacks, where you start seeing your own jerseys getting closer to you, even though it may still be a clean pocket, and it speeds up your processing. And yes, there were some drops in there, but that was also because you had really good coverage a lot of the night through that secondary. That's where I look at this defense and I go, okay, you're now starting and you're getting this with backups. You're not getting this with Julian Love in there or Witherspoon in there. Like, you're getting this with Ty Okada in there. You're getting this with, some of the other guys in there, whether it be Kendrick or whoever. You're now starting to see the effects of pressure equals coverage. And that's something we haven't seen in Seattle. It's not like, we all love this where it's like, hey, it's 3rd down and Seattle was going to send 4 guys and they were going to play off coverage and they were going to sit in their cover 3 and they were going to hope that their players are good enough to get the ball and make a play on the ball, rather than, no, we're going to go force the offense into a mistake. That's the difference in our defense now.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, I mean, my highlight isn't going to be as optimistic as you guys, because we don't just like to highlight the fantastic Seahawks play. There's also a couple of bits that I like to highlight. And I'm not going to mention tackling, Mitch. You'll be very, very happy to know. But anyone who's watched our pod as a rugby coach, it is my biggest bugbear, and I'm not going to talk about it today. I promise it. That is all you're getting. My highlight or low light is the Darnold fumble in the end zone. And so Charles Cross, I wouldn't say dubious of when we first drafted him. I think last season he really started to come along. This season he's been playing absolutely brilliant. However, it shows the difference in a left tackle that could have gone where he was. It was sort of a toss-up between him and a few other tackles. And then you have an out-and-out stud edge in someone like Will Anderson Jr., who just bullied him there. And I wanted to ask you this as well, Bryce. So from my point of view, so we were on our 4, I think it was. And I'm still trying to work out why Darnold took what was essentially a 5-step drop to try and extend a play. I didn't know if it was 5 or 7 in the end, and I thought, why haven't you just thrown that away? Why are you not playing? Because I think I'm pretty sure he was in the shotgun as well.
Uh-huh.
And why didn't you just play it directly under center and try for a quick dunk or get a running back going? Can
I tell you who I want to blame for that play? And that's Clint Kubiak. That was a sequence of 3 plays that drove me nuts, because I figured that's what he was going to do. And I was doing my play-by-play show with Brandon Kane, and I almost threw my mouse across the room, because it's you're on your 4 and you don't go run in the same spot twice and then put yourself in 3rd and long. That should have been, okay, we got 3 yards. Okay, now we're going to try a play action pass. We're going to get it out quick into the flats to Arroyo or Barner, our tight ends that seemingly go missing for 3/4 of a football game in this offense. And then we're in 3rd and manageable, 3rd and 3, and we can run it again. If we don't get anything, we've given ourselves even a good area to punt out of and play the field position game. No, instead we're going to go run. We're going to be 3rd and long, and then you're going to ask Sam Darnold to drop back in a full pass set. You get a horrible chip from Zach Charbonnet as the running back going to the flat. And then you have another chip from Barner on a hook on the other side, and they're covered immediately, and everything else is a vertical shot. So there's nowhere for Sam to go with the ball. So Sam, in that situation, you put Charles Cross and Abe Lucas against Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson. And this is the thing for me where I get so frustrated with Kubiak. There is a 12th now defender in that play, which is the back end zone line. There's nowhere for Sam to get out backwards. So the D linemen rushing and the edges, when they're good, know that and know how much they can collapse a tackle in on the pocket because there's nowhere for the quarterback to get out from. He's stuck with the back line. He's going to run out the back of the end zone. That was a horrible sequence of plays by Clint Kubiak. Like absolutely novice level. You set your quarterback up, you set your O-line up and the team up for failure there. And it drove me absolutely nuts. So to your point, Josh, yes, Cross got bullied, but he got set up for failure to be bullied by Will Anderson, by Clint Kubiak.
It just baffled me because I was watching it and I had to rewind it a couple of times just to make sure I was seeing what I was seeing. And to your point where you said there was 12 defenders there because you've got the back of the end zone. And when you ask him to take that drop, when he sees his tackles collapsing in, the only thing he could do is potentially run into his center or one of the guards. That would be it. And it was such a horrible sequence for me just to watch that. For everything Darnold's done really well, to put him in a position like that and ask for magic against, let's not beat around the bush, two elite edge rushers. If I had a mouse in my hand, I probably would have thrown it then.
Well, and the thing for me too is there's nowhere for him to throw that ball away. He can't get out of the pocket to throw it away. There's no back or tight end that he can throw it at the feet of because that pocket is now collapsed. So Sam doesn't have an option. And if he is in the end zone and throws it away and there's no one there and it's an intentional grounding, you're giving up a safety because it's now a penalty in the end zone.
But then again, a safety would have been better than what we did give away.
In hindsight, sure, but you should never have been in that situation to begin with, Josh.
I agree completely. And this is where, so when we do our highlights, this is why I don't just want to highlight all the great plays, because I think there's enough content creators out there that just go, the Seahawks are amazing. Whereas if you're realistic with it and you can pick this apart, then yeah. There you go, Patrick. Thank you, Bryce. You can't paint your QB in a corner like that completely. And it's one way as well to get someone who's playing so well to start questioning what you're calling and what he's doing. You know, keep being efficient, just use common sense. Don't get too tricky. And I think we're probably going to talk about a tricky play very shortly as well. But yeah, that for me just baffled me. Mitch, what did you think of that sequence of play?
Yeah, it was a bit of a head scratcher, honestly. It did feel like we kind of self-inflicted that a bit. And somehow, the threat of, I mean, when you're calling those plays, you think there's probably a chance we give away a safety here. Well, no, we gave it away an awful lot more. So not only was it self-inflicted, we also managed to catastrophize the whole thing and dream up a way to hurt ourselves even more. Point there from John, exactly. Safety better than a TD. They probably thought, worst case scenario is a safety. No, worst case scenario, that's going to be a touchdown. So yeah, no, I think Bryce is absolutely right. It was self-inflicted, and it's easy to look at the QB and think that ball should have been hurled away, but the conditions need to be right for you to do that too, and they weren't. So, and they weren't because of the situation that we drew up ourselves.
Yeah, 100%.
Can I add one point to that though? That a point about our quarterback that impressed me was the minute we went back on offense on the next play, he hits a 40-yard strike down the sideline to JSN.
Yeah, it's gone. It's good.
That's the thing that I love.
Yeah, exactly. The goldfish memory on Darnold.
Yeah.
For an elite player, that's exactly what you need. Anyone who's played sport before, the one bit of advice, sage advice my dad always gave me as one of my coaches was, if you do something wrong, don't linger on it. Make sure it's better the next time. You need to have that short memory, because you see these quarterbacks in the league that are so downtrodden now with awful play calling, throwing to awful players, having to throw behind an O-line, which is basically Swiss cheese. And their confidence is gone. It's very hard for them to have a short memory when every single memory is awful. It's like constant PTSD. And I think that's one thing. And I know obviously you're going to talk about Kubiak as well. And I think Mitch wants to sort of say something about him as well. But I think that's one thing that Kubiak has been able to do. He has had some blips, but genuinely his play sequencing, I think I've found, has been very good. He's able to scheme people open as well. But yeah, that was my highlight or low light, if you will.
He's okay at scheming people open if it's not their birthday. I'd say that.
Or just asking people
we'll get to
run. Yes, we will. So I just very, very quickly want to shout out, and I understand this is a crossover pod, but for ourselves at 12 Talk, we have teamed up with the Robin Cancer Trust. They are a UK and a global cancer charity that specialises in germ cell cancer, which is ovarian and testicular cancer. So if you've been affected, by all means, there's something to check out. The month of November, they're doing what they call their Big Ballsy Run, where you can run or walk 10K, 50K, or 100K, and you can win one of these lovely medals with a giant set of testicles on them. Now, if you're going to hang something from your mantle, hang a medal like that. If you want to join that, by all means, you can scan the QR code there, or the link is down below in our video. And we, as a pod, have designed some T-shirts that we are selling during the Discord, and we can discuss how that happens. 25% of any profits are given straight to the RCT. So they help them with their life-saving sort of research and their campaigns as well. So I just wanted to give them a very quick shout out as we were here. Right. So my personal favorite part of the pod, because we try and be happy-go-lucky scamps here. We don't like pointing out things that go wrong very often, although I just did. But this is winners and losers. And for anyone who's new to the 12 Talk pod in this format, we will pick Bryce as our guest, even though it's a crossover. You'll have 3 winners and a loser. Although Bryce sent me more than one loser.
Sorry,
we
Josh.
can go through them. That's okay. But you can talk about why you wanted to do that as well. So I know from a coaching point of view, there's something you wanted to say. And then Mitch and I have got some winners and losers as well. So Bryce, kick us off. Let's go with the winners first, and then we'll go from there. Who's your first winner, mate?
It's Drake Thomas. We have a weak side linebacker, and I think now you're seeing what a complimentary weak side linebacker that can cover, can run fit, is smart as well, and not taking a shot at Tyree Snyder or anything, but I just think you're seeing a guy that, because he has physical limitations, where I think even Tyree Snyder may be a better physical athlete than Drake Thomas, you see it made up in other places, like him to the point of Mitch on that goal line sequence, shooting that run gap so cleanly.
Oh,
there was a point, I think it was one of the first 3rd and shorts the Texans had. He comes flying in and blows up the fullback and kills the run play for Woody Marks dead in the backfield. Like, there was nowhere for him to go. And then he's all over Schultz at different points throughout the night when he's in coverage on him. Like, there was the one 3rd down play where I'm pretty sure if the guy had caught the ball, but Drake Thomas fought through the entire play and ripped it out, it would have put 4th and 2. And I think the Texans are going for it there in the second half to try and build on the momentum they had. Drake Thomas, I think, is now your starting weak side linebacker. I don't think it's a question. And I've said for a while with the, what happened to Tyrese Knight, I think part of it too is this playbook might have gotten a little too much for Tyrese Knight. And knowing his assignment, knowing his drop spots, knowing where to be, Drake Thomas to me is the player that, John Schneider and his personnel group decided they wanted to go get. And the Raider fans were super upset when we pulled him off the waiver pile when they cut him, and why they cut Drake Thomas. No one could understand it. That to me is a player now that you're seeing fully committed to Mike McDonald's scheme. And he's my first winner because I'm just so excited. We have 2 functioning linebackers in there that can do the things that need to be done.
I have been blowing the horn for Drake Thomas for the past few weeks, and the other person is one of your winners as well. So I'm extremely happy now that, because a few weeks ago there was people just picking holes in everything he did, and let's not get it twisted. He was practice squad, cut, signed by us, put on the practice squad. We've kept him in the building for a reason. He's not one of these 1st, 2nd, 3rd round draft picks who will be able to slot straight in. He's had to learn, and there's going to be growing pains. But I think the one thing that he is able to do is learn from his mistakes, and he does it so well that now you're seeing his game really come alive. I think his communication with Jones was fantastic. The effort that he puts into every single play is one of the reasons why I've been shouting him out for the last few weeks. You can see the effort, even though sometimes it doesn't always come to fruition. The effort with which he plays will make a difference, because when he hits, and his coverage ability is fantastic. He always seems to be around the ball. He's got a solid technique in contact. I won't mention the T word though, because I've made a promise. I think you're completely right. I think we've now got a will linebacker there that's been in the league long enough to know how the scheme's going to work.
Well, the funny thing is he's only been in the league 1 year longer than Tyrese Knight, which is a interesting thing. And you got to think too, this is the thing that blows me away about Drake Thomas even more, is he basically lost a year because of that injury. And then he had to kind of prove himself to Mike McDonald and that staff. And the thing that really blew me away was last year in the preseason, we didn't really know what happened to Thomas's rookie year. He kind of went, he had this knee injury. It was lingering. He didn't really go into training camp in Mike McDonald's first season. And then all of a sudden, the last preseason game against Cleveland, I'm sitting there, and Dan Viens is actually across the field at the other point of Lumen. And I'm going, we both love Drake Thomas, and we both go, he's out there on defense, and he's wearing the green dot, calling plays in the final preseason game. And that, to me, was the light bulb went on. Like, he has proven something to this entirely new coaching staff that had no reason to believe in him, that he fits their scheme and what they're going to do. And he hasn't practiced really. And they're already throwing the green dot on him and saying, hey, go call defense in this preseason game. And to me, that was the selling point, that he's one of Mike's guys. Like, he's a Mike McDonald guy.
Yeah. Cerebral.
Yeah, the green dot. That's exactly where I was going. Yeah, we're both picking up the same point. I think the green dot shows a couple of things, doesn't it? It shows confidence from the coaching staff in your ability as a communicator. It shows the confidence in you as someone that understands the scheme and has a good grasp on the playbook. And it also shows that they don't just think that you are a chunk of meat that can be a tackling machine at linebacker. They rate you as a thinking, cerebral player, and that is exactly what you need in the brain of that defense, which often is those linebacker spots. So yeah, there's a huge amount of faith in Drake Thomas. And when we looked at the roster at the beginning of the year, we were in the offseason, we're like, oh, we're going to need a middle linebacker, we're going to need a weak side linebacker. Well, it was pretty clear the coaching staff did not agree, because it was radio silence. There was nothing, there was no rumors that we were going to do anything like that. Shock horror. They believe in Drake Thomas, and now I think the fan base is starting to as well.
Great comment here from Patrick. Thomas is an effort guy. Everything I've read, heard is he's constantly communicating and asking questions. Hard work and effort. It's all you can ask for from someone who is trying to solidify themselves within a starting lineup. And yeah, absolutely love him. Who's your second one, Bryce? Who's your second winner?
So my second winner is Reek Woolen. I know it's going to cause you to have
to mute myself.
So this is what I'll say for Reek and why he's my second winner. That looked as close as we've seen to rookie Reek Woolen in probably the last 2 years. There was, and the best play, there's two plays for me that stand out. One is the deep shot that CJ Stroud took on him. He was like 40 yards down the field. Reek in the past 2 years has panicked in that situation. He's pulled, he's done something, he's caused himself to get in a PI situation or whatever it is. He didn't panic. He trusted his position, ended up, the ball was underthrown, but he ended up in the right spot. Didn't cause a PI, didn't give them any momentum. Great. The other one happened earlier in the game where they threw, I want to say it was to Marks in the flat. Mm-hmm. And Reek Woolen came flying up and completely laid the boom on the back and knocked him about 3 yards back. And for me, that was where I went, okay, something might have clicked in Reek's head. And to be honest, what I think it is, and I'll be honest, is sometimes it's the realization of football mortality. You have these injuries. He's had the shoulder. Now he had the concussion. He missed a game. And it's that thing of you kind of get to sit back. You get to watch yourself and actually just not have to worry, okay, I'm watching myself to get ready to play. No, I'm out. I'm just going to watch what I've done on film all week and try and get better. And I think that's maybe what's hit Reek a little bit is the realization of, yeah, you know what? I'm not playing good. And the way that Mike's even talked about him in the last week leading up to this was how well he did in practice, the things he's working on. And I also think for Reek, and this is something I think gets a little bit forgotten about too with him, is we're talking about a guy that got converted in college, receiver to DB, and everyone wanted to say, oh, because of his size and his metrics, he's an elite version of Richard Sherman. That was the word, remember, coming into the rookie season and everything, because of how well he performed. And the thing that I held back on that was, I don't know if he's got the football savvy knowledge yet that Richard had. That's what made Richard great. It wasn't the length. Yeah, that was an added bonus. Richard was so smart. He knew where routes were going to be. And that's something for Reek I don't think he's developed. And then to go from Pete Carroll's style of playing corner to what Mike McDonald wants for a young player that is still in some respects learning the position, that's a drastic change. And I think Reek's been thinking too much. Last night we got to see Reek not think and just play again. That's why for me last night, Reek Woolen is a winner. As much as it may cause you pain, Josh, for me to say that, that's why I picked it.
I will eat enough humble pie when a player that I have universally panned plays well. And I will say last night, this morning when I watched it, I was quietly impressed with Reek. He seems like you said about sporting sort of your career, your mortality there as a sportsman. As a sportsman, a contact sport, you have the shortest career in pretty much anything, and for him, based on how he was playing, the fact that he's had those injuries, he's probably gone away and looked and gone, if I keep playing like this, I'm going to end up as a backup cornerback somewhere and potentially out of the league within 5 years. And if he has finally put it together that he needs to turn his head at the right moment. There you go. Amy put a lovely comment up about that. He needs to actually play with some physicality and violence, which that was the first thing I noticed, that big hit that you were just talking about, the fact that he came in and historically you've seen him allow people run at him, which anyone who's had to, be in that contact situation with anyone knows that is not the way forward. You meet them head on. But he didn't slow down when he reached the point of contact. He ran through the contact as well, which really laid the boom. And that was a statement of intent. That means it's hits like that mean, wide receivers, tight ends aren't going to run or catch the ball near you for fear. And that's what he's been missing. If he can carry on with that, I will hold my hands up and say, maybe I was wrong. I wasn't wrong at the time because of how he was playing, but maybe I was wrong about my projection for him if he can make those, put it all together and make it better. Mitch, go on. How do you feel about Reek from this game?
Well, I would have had him down as my winner if neither of you two did. I think it was really nice to see the willingness in the tackle, not just throwing his body in the way. He genuinely was putting himself into tackles to stop players with half decent technique, and a willingness to really drive through the opponent. I think that's been missing. There's been too many arm tackles and sort of like it hasn't looked like he actually wanted to take a risk and put his body in on the line at all. So yeah, that was really good. And I starred that comment from Amy about turning his head around, because watching the game with some of the members of our Discord last night or this morning, 3 a.m. One of the first things when that moment happened, there was Jonas said it. I think Danny might have said it in the Discord as well. Like straight away, he got his head round and he actually made a break on the ball late there. And we should not be surprised to see a player that was hailed for breaking on the ball and making plays and being a ball hawk in his first year. We shouldn't be surprised to see that. But it did look like, okay, he's back doing some of the stuff that really helped him in his breakout year. So, yeah, great shout on that, Amy. We all agreed with you last night in the Discord. And yeah, he would have been my winner if he wasn't already taken.
Yep. And then, Bryce, you've got one final winner
Well, I'm just going to say I seem to have a really good track record of picking under the flyer safety guys for the Seahawks to move into that position and have them go there. And so
This is my guy too.
Ty Okada, like he has become a very reliable plug and play starter in that defense. And for me, I think what you're seeing, like I know a lot of people a few weeks ago were like, oh, he's so out of position. He's so bad. Well, you got to give the guy an opportunity to actually get continuity playing with a Kobe Bryant, with, you know, some of these other guys in this defense. Like just plugging a safety in there sometimes doesn't work. And I know a lot of people are like, well, why isn't DeAnthony Bell out there more? DeAnthony Bell can't do some of the things Ty Okada does. Ty Okada is a much better player at not trying to do everything. And that's what Mike McDonald even said in his press conference today was when someone asked him about Ty and like why Ty is playing so well, he goes, because he's not trying to do everything. Ty Okada is a very cerebral safety, and like his knockdown on the goal line, again, perfect position, knocks the ball down. I think he thought he could have picked it, which was, you know, potential, but he was great on his blitz, timed it perfectly with Drake Thomas to get his one sack that he had multiple opportunities at pass breakups. And I know there's times where, you know, people see guys running open and the safety comes over and makes the tackle and they're like, oh, well, he was supposed to have him. That's totally his blown assignment. No, your safety is your last resort. So he's probably cleaning up somebody else's bust in the coverage, most likely. Ty Okada to me has become a very reliable, if Julian Love's out for a week or out for a couple, as we've seen, a guy that you can plug and play, who's a smart football player, very much like a Drake Thomas, that'll come in and do what he needs to do to get the job done.
Yeah. Again, just like Drake Thomas, I was singing his praises, and every time we've seen him in preseason, I think he flashes and shows what he can do. But like you said, the consistency of playing around people is what's going to make him better. And I think being able to play next to Kobe more frequently in these high pressure situations against a different offense really, really helped him. I mean, that tip in the end zone was just chef's kiss. Again, we're going to say it again, effort. The effort to get across there, the athleticism to jump over, stretch out that hand, and tip it away was outstanding. I'll say no more on Ty Okada. I'll sit here and smile because it's nice to know other people are paying attention to.
Smile and cough. I was just going to mention there seems to be a little bit of history repeating at safety for us, and I think I've got the name right. But go back 3 years, maybe think about 3 seasons. Is it Ryan Neal that ended up leaving us and playing for the Bucks?
Yeah, went to Tampa, yeah.
And he waited for his opportunity, and then every time we saw him out there, it was like, well, he can tackle. Oh, yeah, he can cover. Oh, there's a sack. Like, and it was like you ended up looking back at it and think, he can kind of do it all. And then suddenly he's the starter in the team, you know, and when injured players are back, it's like, didn't really mind this Ryan Neal guy playing instead of Jamal Adams, and we're paying a lot of money to Jamal Adams. What is this newfound confidence I have in our depth chart? Well, history is repeating. I think Ty Okada is becoming a very similar kind of situation for us. But I just thought I'd give the flowers to Ryan Neal as well, because if he ever made his way back onto our roster as a backup safety, I'd be so comfortable with that. And we've done it before.
I think there's a lot to be said about our depth. There's a lot of conversations that I can see going on over YouTube about who we should trade for. And by all means, we'll have that little conversation at the end. But first, let's Mitch, give me your winner. I will finish on the losers. But Mitch, did you have a winner?
I don't remember who my winner was. I feel like we'd spoken about everyone, but do you remember who my winner was? I'm going to check. I committed to one, and I'm gonna stick with it. Nwosu was my winner. I love this, and he wouldn't be everyone's winner, but when he was away, Derek Hall, Boye Mafe flourished. Right, they were both outstanding. He's come back, and I think a lot of people wouldn't have been surprised to see a cut or a trade. People forgot how consistent Nwosu was, holding an edge, keeping contain on quarterbacks, whilst also possessing a very good ability in pass rush as well. And last night, I genuinely thought Chenna's back. That is Chenna doing Chenna things, and he did it all night. And unfortunately, it's an injury to Derek Hall that's probably accelerated that return in terms of snap count and everything else. But I thought Chenna was outstanding, and I love to see it because he was always a favourite. And also, he'd start to become a bit of a fan favourite, Chenna. And then it's 3 injuries, wasn't it? There was the one in preseason, then there was the hamstring injury, then there was the torn biceps injury he had, or triceps? It was biceps. So yeah, he's had a rough time. He's taken his opportunity, and he's now starting and looking like a premium edge in this league. And happy days. My winner, Chenna Nwosu.
Bryce, thoughts on Chenna?
Chenna looks like pre-injury Chenna again. And yes, I think it's going to be...
He does.
He does. And that was the thing. When he came into that Cardinals game and you saw the impact immediately, I went, okay, let's see if we can do it another week. And we saw it in Jacksonville. And we saw it even against, the Buccaneers game, as much as that was a downpour or downfall of that defense for that game. You saw Chenna still being in the backfield, still creating pressure moments. And you saw what he did in Jacksonville. And then you saw it again. Like, Chenna's back to being who we knew Chenna was when he earned his contract extension. What'll be interesting is to see, and this is my little hot take. I think after the bye week, I think the guy that you see had the lowest snap count out of that rotational group is Boye Mafe, because you're not taking Chenna off. Derek Hall was performing better than Boye was prior to the injury. And DeMarcus Lawrence is my honorable mention, by the way, of a person that I think needs to be talked about more.
There you go. John's put it there. Mafe has to be the loser, not just this game, but all season so far. He's disappeared in defense. He flashed sort of in this game. I think there was the PD wasn't there. There was, there was a couple of flashes of what Chenna can do or what Mafe can do, but it's not consistent anymore. And it's starting to, become a little bit of a hindrance, to be honest. Like when you think about, we have that full complement of edge rushers back, where's he going to fit in there? Because he doesn't generate consistent pressure. I don't think he's become that weapon like he was in year 2. He's sort of taking that, and dare I say it, Darrell Taylor role of being the speed rusher off the edge, but not getting home. And I hate saying that because I really like Boye Mafe, but on performance and based on what we all see now, that's kind of the role he's taking up. And if that continues, he's not going to be here next year.
I'll say this about Mafe. I think you're seeing why he struggles as a 4-down lineman pass rush group. He doesn't really work well. Like, he needs a blitz. He needs an ability to get a bit of a mismatch somewhere and exploit that. That's where he excels. And that's where we saw in that game stretch where he had, 8 sacks in a row or whatever last year.
7 sacks in a row or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, 7 sacks. It was something like that. But it was because he was getting these opportunities of mismatches on running backs or, a chipping tight end that was trying to you don't see the same effect of when you see the stunts run by Jaron Reed and Byron Murphy and Leo on the inside getting, home. Derek Hall, even though he hadn't produced a sack, Derek Hall was collapsing pockets on his own. Like, he was taking Trent Williams in week 1 and running him into Brock Purdy. Yeah. Trent Williams probably the best left tackle of this generation of players right now. That's where you don't see it. I think they keep Mafe around this year. I don't know if they trade him unless they get a decent return, but I don't know if you're spending big bucks to keep Boye Mafe around next year.
No, I don't. I think people like that that'll pay him that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think also when you consider that he probably does okay in free agency next year and you end up picking up a comp pick, you're better off seeing out his rookie deal and picking up that compensatory pick if he gets paid enough. I think edge rushers, I think also he'll be a fit for another team. I think it's not great with us rushing 4. He's not someone that you want to necessarily have repeatedly up against a tackle. I think, like Bryce said, when you're sending a lot of bodies, he can pick up a mismatch and beat them and get pressure. When you're sending 4, you need to be able to consistently eat double teams or put a tackle on an island and beat them with a solid repertoire of pass rush moves. and be able to sequence it to keep them guessing. He's not. When he gets washed out in that pass rush, and the last few weeks we've been dialing up some blitzes, and he still is not getting home. So I think Mafe's time is probably done. I don't think the extension is going to be there. Someone in the league will pay him more than we're going to offer, and if we get a comp pick, happy days.
Do you want my winner?
Yeah.
I have mentioned this man multiple times in my winners column. It's Zach Charbonnet. And we've had comments already that I've seen coming in about Ken Walker, and I'll get onto him in the latter part of this section. But Zach Charbonnet as a goal line back, fantastic. He has a thing that we call in rugby, just keeping your legs pumping. And that's all he does. He will hit any contact and he will just keep churning his legs, fighting for extras. He runs to his assignment. He doesn't try and ad-lib and go round the back and circumvent everyone and end up losing himself 4 yards. I mean, 12 carries, 49 yards, average of 4.1. K9, 17 carries for 66 yards. But that's only because he broke off, 2 big ones? Before that, I need to double check, but I can guarantee that was definitely sort of hovering around the 30 mark. And you've got to think that's off sort of 15 carries, which is so highly ineffective. Zach Charbonnet for this, and Bryce, we've said this already, like between the two of us. I do genuinely see him as the running back you need in this scheme. I understand the 1-2 punch of, having someone that could possibly break it away and do all that stuff. But you'd never see it with Zach Charbonnet. If he gets the ball, if he hits the line of scrimmage, he's going to at least fall forward. I do not have that same confidence in our other running back. So my winner, Zach Charbonnet. Go on, Bryce. I can see the. Oh.
I know people want to say who's the better back, and Sharbs is better than K9 or K9's better than Sharbs. The thing I will say, and this is just, I think it's very interesting the style of runs they call for each individual back, what the personnel looking is in that group, the amount of times you see Charbonnet running. Like, I think Charbonnet is a better inside the 10-yard running back than K9. 100%. He's the guy you want sniffing around the goal line. However, when we're between the 30s, there's things that K9 does well that Charbonnet doesn't. And I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, he dances too much, or he does. Well, go back, and if you have the ability, you can't see it on the TV copy nearly as well as when you watch linemen completely whiff on their blocks in a zone scheme. And if there is the one thing, and this will be in my losers section, so I'm not going to say it yet, there is a key component to running zone scheme football. And if you don't have it right and you're losing that battle consistently in your run game, it affects everything. And that's the thing I'm looking at. And it happens to Charbonnet too, like especially when we run toss with Charbonnet, which never makes sense to me. It happens to him because the zone blocking scheme is still there and present, and it falls apart. And that's where I look at this is something they have to really go into evaluation over this bye week and figure out, because there are things that K9 does well. When K9 runs straight downhill and you give him a gap power scheme and he goes north-south, he pops out these runs because he hits the hole so damn fast. But the minute he feels kind of like what I talked about with CJ Stroud and that paranoia pressure, the minute that falls apart at any point for him in the zone, it's like PTSD running behind Shane Waldron's offensive lines or Ryan Grubb's offensive lines. And he gets all jittery and he starts to become this, jumping cricket in the backfield instead of just hitting it up there and getting there. And Charbonnet does possess that, but I don't think Charbonnet is a better back than K9. I think it's more of, what are they asking the O-line to block? What are the defensive fronts they're running into? And what scheme are they trying to actually run? And that's where I think this week, and I think Mike McDonald even alluded to it a little bit in his press conferences in his show today, they got to figure that out because it's not working what they're doing. And I don't think it's as simple as Robbie Oots comes back and all of a sudden they're, great. Because look at what happened when they played Pittsburgh. They started to figure it out in the second half of what K9 does well. And all of a sudden, K9's ripping off these yards. And everyone's like, oh, that's the K9 we remember from the rookie season. And then this leads me into my whole big issue with the offensive scheme.
I was going to say, this is a great segue for your loser, though.
Yeah, it is.
Hit us with your loser. Go on.
It's Jalen Sundell. And I am one of the biggest hype guys, as Mitch knows, of Jalen Sundell. And I really like Jalen. I think he, is a okay player. The more I've watched his all 22, the more he, to me, is a bigger reason this run game is failing than Anthony Bradford, than Abe Lucas, than the running backs. Because when you're running zone, there's one common denominator. And this is why Clint Kubiak talked about it when he got hired, how you need to have an elite level center. He used that term. I think it was on KJR's interview. You need an elite level center. The reason for that is when you're running zone, no matter which way you go, that center is the key point of making sure that zone wall holds. And if he at all gets beat across his face or shoved back, the zone breaks because you're working on a 45-degree angle to get to the second level. When your center cannot get the push, it throws off the backside of your zone and it leaves a huge gap on the front side of your zone between the guard and the center. And that's where your linebackers shoot. And how many times have we seen linebackers this year when we're running zone shoot through and they're in the backfield just as our backs, whether it's Charbonnet or Canine, getting the ball, and they've got to make a guy miss 3-4 yards deep in the backfield? How often do you see that happen with Christian McCaffrey? How often do you see that happen with Kyron Williams? Or, Todd Gurley when he played for the Rams way back with McVay's group? You didn't, because you got an elite level center or a very high quality center that can hold that. They're the linchpin of that offensive line on zone blocking. Gap and power scheme's a little bit different because you're going north-south more than you are going east-west. And that doesn't require you as much to be necessarily as synced up in your targeting. When it comes to zone, you have to be on your points and you cannot lose your one-on-ones. Because if Sundell loses his one-on-one, which happened multiple times last night, then the play gets stretched out way too far and the back's trying to keep getting around that corner and you can't get around it and they run out of room with the sideline. That's why I think you got to look at, and I said it on my show, if I'm sitting there in those coaches meetings and John Benton's there and Rick Dennison, I think you start splitting the reps 50-50 in practice, and maybe Olu has to be a guy that you bring in, because unless you can trade for the guy that I want them to trade for, which is Jackson Powers Johnson, and put him at center. Olu, I think, can do a little bit more because he anchors better and he's proven he's a good run blocking center at points. I think you got to give him a shot.
He's also a college award winner. And this was my thing. Obviously, we had this conversation, I think, before the season in one of our shows where we were talking about. I've always been a big fan of Olu. I think he's a really stout and intelligent player, and you used that word as well. So before we went on air, he's a very stout center. He anchors that line from the middle so well. He doesn't get beaten very often. The only issue that they're going to have with him is he as mobile as Sundell? Answer is no, but then that's something you can work on. Mobility and speed are things that can be coached. That's why you've got your strength and conditioning people there. And if that is the case, I completely agree with you. I think it needs to be a matter of having a look at them. And obviously with everything that people say about Bradford as well, that then gives you the option to have Sundell at right guard. But then is he going to be big enough to play there? He's very athletic, but will he get bullied? We've seen Bradford, who's an absolute bear of a man, get absolutely mauled at times. He just gets bullied. He looks like he's moonwalking back into Sam Darnold sometimes. And if Sundell's there, it could be even worse, because all it's going to take is him to come up against, one of the bigger D linemen, and he's going to get bullied at right guard. So I think there's things that they're going to have to look at by the bye week. We've got time now to evaluate and see what we can do better, especially if we are looking now actively at how we can get that run game going. I think that's one of the key components for this, to take us down the stretch for the rest of the season. We need to have two running backs running for more than 115 yards between them.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think you'll see your center, especially in the zone, has a direct effect on your guard play. It does. And that's the thing as well, where I look at, some of the run gaffes that we've had with Bradford in the run game, where I've looked at and gone, like, how has he gotten so much worse as a run blocking guard? There are times where I look at it and go, okay, yeah, Sundell did not engage enough on the guy, and Bradford couldn't get off to the second level, because a lot of it's, duo 2-second level, right? So you're running wide zone right, and you've got a 3-tech to the right of the center. The center's got to get hands-on control there on the inside shoulder, and that guard's turning him on the outside shoulder to climb to the second level. and let that center get full control. There's times where that just breaks down between Sundell and Bradford. And a lot of the times because Sundell's not getting across face.
Yeah, Mitch, I know you're a fan of Sundell. Any thoughts, sir?
I'm equally a fan of Olu, though. I mean, any centre that comes out of college with the Rimington Award and the Outland Award is a highly respected player, and by peers, by coaches, across different college conferences as well. Just there's a lot of love for Olu coming into the league. We've relied on him at times as a starter. That's looked good. It's also looked bad. Sometimes when you make mistakes, losing your job and going back to the training ground and working on it, talking it out with your coaches, being coachable and receptive, it's the best thing you can do, because you get the taste of what it's like to suit up and be a starter on game day. That feeds the hunger and stokes the flames. To then miss out and lose your job to someone else, and then potentially have the chance to come back in, that again stokes the flames. So at some point you need to get the player back in the lineup and just get him to show you, what have you learned? How good are you now in this scheme? How well do you get the concepts? Show us what you're made of. He needs
this is one thing I'll point to in just the Jekyll and Hyde of our running game. First half, Zach Charbonnet, 6 carries, 39 yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Ken Walker, 7 carries, 10 yards. Second half, Charbonnet, 6 carries, 10 yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Ken Walker, 10 carries, 56 yards. That is completely Jekyll and Hyde. Yeah. And that's where I'm saying I don't think there is necessarily a better back, a best back. Get rid of one for the other. Like, give Charbonnet 35 carries and give Ken 2 touches in the game. There's things that they're doing schematically that are wrong, that are not amplifying the usage of these 2 backs. Look like they kind of figured it out at a point, and now they've kind of reverted back, and that just leads me to my whole freaking issue I've got with one individual,
which I think may have been Mitch's loser. Do you remember who your loser was?
Nice segue. However, I just want to very quickly do this. Isn't that just a lovely thing?
Way to go.
Really, there's been a bit of love, actually. And here's a nice plug as well for the Discord. Amy, in response, yes, 100%. Anyone that's here, maybe you usually watch Bryce's show and you want to see more of us. Well, our Discord, Bryce is in there. Other guests we've had on in the past are in there. Everyone's involved in the conversations there, all the different subjects, college football, the NFL, around the league, Seahawks related stuff, the draft, game day conversations.
Read Appreciation Channel.
The J Reed Appreciation Channel, just about everything you could think of is in there. Come and join those chats. There's a lot of great stuff in there, and the community in there is second to none. It is a great group. You can catch all of Bryce's updates, and his podcast is shared in the channel there as well. So you can catch all of our stuff there. So thank you, Amy, for that.
Lovely little plug there, mate. Well done.
Yeah.
Now, who's your loser? Come on.
Who's my loser? Let's get to it. So I've got Kubiak as a loser here, but also I have him down as a winner just a little bit. And I want to just say, I'm about to tell you that I think he was a loser in this game. He was the biggest loser in this game for me. However, I do just want to just caveat that by saying in red zone now, there's a certain level of confidence I have in our offense where I didn't have that at all last year. So I think Kubiak in the red zone has filled me with confidence. However, I feel like Kubiak has this like self-sabotaging like thing where he'd be like, I'm calling quite a good game. What's Jalen Milroe doing? Should we get him out here? It's like, just get Jalen Milroe out here. This is going too well. Oh, do you know what?
Cooper Kupp, can you throw?
Cooper Kupp, yeah. Have you thrown a ball before? Never had a reception. Never thrown a pass in the league before. You could do it though, right? Yeah. Just okay, interception. Great.
He's never completed a pass in the league.
Yeah, and we've already spoken sort of ad nauseum about that sequence at our own goal line earlier in this pod. That's obviously a glaring, problem from the game. But the Cooper Cup thing and the recent weeks with Jalen Milroe, I feel like Kubiak, just when he just gets to the point where he's convincing people, and it's like, oh no, yeah, we've done one of those again. So yeah, it's getting a bit tiring, honestly. So cut it out.
God, Bryce, I'm just going to sit back and let you take you're the OC, mate. Go.
There is no continuity in our freaking offense. It drives me absolute nuts.
He can sequence, like he sequences plays really well, but continuity throughout the whole game. Go, carry on. Sorry, I feel the same.
It's like, okay, like I'm actually going to do a show with Dan Viens in our Hawks Labs about how many times Clint Kubiak has bleeped up a drive by doing something absolutely moronic. And there's more times than not he's done it, even like in games we haven't lost. He has done something where it's like, so outside of the Cooper Cup play, for example, okay, anytime we do these ridiculous trick plays, hey, you know what we're going to do, guys? We're going to line up Charbonnet in the backfield, and we've never done this all year. So no, the defense isn't going to notice that Ken Walker's lined up tight in the slot, and we're going to do a reverse toss to Ken Walker and lose 10 yards, and we're in 2nd and 20 now. That's the idea. That's what I'm going to go with here. That's where we're going to get some momentum. Like, what are you doing? Like, if you've done it at least 3 or 4 other times in 3 games, don't just walk Ken Walker out. Yeah, we're going to put him in the slot right now, guys, and no one's going to freaking notice. Like, you're going up against NFL DCs, not freaking, peewee level coaches who coach 9 and 10-year-olds that might, or dads that are probably like, oh, I think they did that once. No, like they study the film. Like it's so infuriating to me sitting there and going like, okay, we've got the number 1 quarterback statistically right now in the NFL, the number 1 receiver. We're marching methodically down the field, and he's just hit JSN on this great outbreaking, blaze out. But yeah, we're going to put Cooper Cup in, and we're going to run a reverse to Cooper Cup. And the key is we're going to throw a 7-yard drag route to JSN. We're not even going to go for the end zone. We're going to throw a 7-yard drag route that Sam Darnold clearly can't throw. So we're going to give it to Cooper Cup to do it. Like that means, like, at least when Schottenheimer or Bevel called those things, like, oh, hey, we're going to pitch it to Doug and Wilson's going to roll down the left sideline. We're going to throw it back to Wilson for a touchdown. Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense. But usually you use trick plays to kind of build some momentum because you're not moving the ball well and we need to spark something. No, it's like, cool, where's the self-destruct button? Where's that big red button I'm not supposed to push? Let me push it right now. And that's what he does. He just sits there and it's like, I'm going to push the big red button because it's big and it's red and I want to see what it does. Let me see what it does. It just,
there were some awesome comments that came in. I don't know if Mitch, you want to put some. There's 2 comments that came in about these, and I had to chuckle. Exactly, Mitch Milroe. You're going in. Oh, he's inactive. Coop, throw it.
Yep, exactly.
It's compulsive, isn't it? Yeah, I completely agree.
It was baffling to see. These cute players on offense just they need to freaking stop. Yet, absolute drive killers. And when you listen to Mike Mack's post game conference as to why they did it. They were just saying, just trying to keep the momentum and keep them guessing. I was just like, keep the momentum by doing what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
This isn't Little Giants.
Well, I'm just trying to think in my head, how many times did, Tom Moore sit there with Peyton Manning and Tony Dungy and that team and go, wow, Peyton's really moving the ball. Hey, Marvin Harrison, are you ready to run a reverse pass right now? We're going to take the ball right out of Peyton Manning's hand. Like, what are you doing? Like, let Sam keep doing. Don't take the ball out of your quarterback's hand, the guy that's supposed to touch it every play, unless you are 100% certain what you're about to call is going to work. Because you need to have set that up throughout the game. What in at all did they set up for Cooper Cup to run a reverse pass? Coop had 1 catch the entire game at that point on a great design, which is a over and up route off a play action. You never once ran him in the backfield. It's like us running these jet motions with JSN. We've never given JSN a jet this year. Like, why are we running jet motion? They're not moving. Like, it's not doing anything. Maybe you should give it to him once, and that might get teams to actually go that way. Like, do you notice when we shift our tight ends, they move? Okay, that's how you got Charbonnet in the second end zone because you moved Arroyo across the whole linebacking core from the Texans went one way, and then you ran it to the left, and it worked great. That's how you set something up because you're doing something consistently, and then you go and run the counter off it. Like, it's just I swear, Clint Kubiak's like, if I do super good at this, someone's going to give me a head coaching interview, and I'm terrified of that. So how do I hit the self-destruct as quickly as possible?
It's the same principle as like we mentioned just there with the Milrow packages, and I'm like, it would work potentially if you let him throw, but every time he comes on, it's a keeper, and people literally just zero go, oh, Milrow's in, okay, everyone just blitz straight for quarterback. It doesn't matter.
They also don't run a formation they ever run any other time, Josh. So like every time Milrow goes in, it's this wonky. It was like the weird punt formation they came out in last night. Like it was like, okay, so you're trying to make them believe that you're gonna have Stoll line up on an angle to snap it to Jake Bobo, and then Dixon's going out at like, and Tyreek, like it's a little too much theatrics there for that to be a believable play.
I mean, the only thing that I find solace in is Mitch and I have said that this is a 3-year rebuild. So in order for us to be true competitors, it's going to take till next year. I want to say this year, Kubiak is trying to get in his bag, see what works, and take one of his like 85 pens out of his hat and just start striking through plays and go, no. But next year, at least I know not to run that or to adjust that. But that's all I'm holding. I'm hanging one of my many hats on that. That's purely it. But at the moment, I'm just looking at it in frustration and disbelief.
And the other thing that drives me absolutely nuts with Kubiak, and don't get me wrong, I love what is happening with JSN. I love it. It is phenomenal. You got other weapons in this offense's passing game. Stop freaking not using them. It drives me nuts. I want to swear so bad, but I will not because I know the rules. But like you use Arroyo on that first drive, and he's completely wrecking the matchup against the linebackers for the Texans. Oh, well, you know what? We won't throw another ball to Arroyo until there's 2 minutes left in the third quarter, guys. Like, it's like he's got these timestamps of when I'm going to come back to this player. Like AJ Barner. Oh, yeah. You know, Barner's been tearing it up, but in the red zone, he's gotten a few too many touchdowns down there. I'm just going to forget he exists. Like 88 just doesn't exist. And it's like Cooper Kupp, like people are talking like we need to trade for another viable weapon. You have them. You just have an offensive coordinator that clearly cannot devise anything to actually use those individuals. Like, the amount of times you see these max protect calls, it's like, for God's sakes, your O-line's actually pass blocking well. Leak Arroyo out. Like, I would love to see them come out. Now, hear me out here. Run Barner down the seam. Run Arroyo across the field underneath Barner. Run JSN on a comeback and run Cooper Kupp on an in. Guess what? I guarantee you Barner Arroyo is going to be wide open on that play because you never throw them the ball, so no one knows they actually exist. They only think you got one receiving target.
The issue you've got is like because JSN's playing so well, it's like you stick with the hot hand, but then Barner's a hot hand. Arroyo hasn't been given the opportunity to be a hot hand. We know historically that Cooper Kupp is a hot hand, but it's like I think Kubiak looks at it and goes, "Well, we're winning games with JSN. Let's just keep throwing the ball there." And I get the frustration, I really do, but I'm just trying to be the optimist that he will learn after the bye week, will come out and you'll start seeing the ball spread around to where it needs to be and all will be right with the world. If it isn't, then, well, that'll be a fun wrap-up pod at the end of the season. Mitch, have you given us your loser yet?
Yeah, it was Kubiak. We've been talking about it for 20 minutes.
There we go. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry. I was spontaneously going to combust
here
about Kubiak. I almost did last night.
I think I've said my piece on Ken Walker. He was going to be my loser, but Bryce, as Bryce very often does in a very eloquent and salient manner, has made me reconsider it. So I will stick with the Kubiak thing as well. Now, we have got 100 odd of you guys watching, and we really, really appreciate it. If you are new to our channel, hello, welcome. If you're watching us through Bryce's channel, welcome again. By all means, you can like and subscribe to ourselves, like and subscribe to Bryce's if you're not already. You can join our Discord. It is completely free. You will talk to 12s from all over the world. We're currently collecting them like Infinity Stones. We got a new nationality as well over the weekend, didn't we, Mitch?
Dutch.
I think we've got a Dutch Seahawker who's joining. So it's Germany, Gibraltar, England, Wales, Scotland, Canada. We'll see with Bryce, the US. We'll just keep going more and more. But by all means, everything, and if you guys want to come over, join us, we absolutely love it. And as some of you may know, we are the UK Seahawkers official podcast. There you go. For the gentleman who said that they love the UK Seahawkers flag, they're not currently available, but we may try and get them available. If you want to become a UK Seahawker, you can. It's £12. I'm not sure what that is with the conversion rate now for individual membership, or £20 for family up to 4, £5 per membership if you're outside the UK, because you get some goodies. You get access to social events, game day field passes. You get the goodies, which I'll show you very shortly as well, and 10% off at the Seattle Pro Shop. These are the goodies we got this year. Coasters, 21-year anniversary patch, your name card or membership card, and our wristband, and you can join these happy-go-lucky scamps here. This was at our meetup in Glasgow, and we're just waiting for the other one, and that is the flag that was mentioned earlier. I've got one, absolutely love it. Didn't take it with me to London because I was carrying pockets full of stickers and patches and everything else, and I've still got some left over that I had to save for people. But yeah, usually we do our Discord member musings, but whenever Bryce is on the show, there are always so many that I have to do the whole copy paste onto a presentation. And we thought, you know what we'll do this time is we'll just go through some of your comments. And Mitch, I know you've been starring them as we've been going. Are there any comments or questions that have come through that we can have a crack at?
An awful lot of directed questions. There was one about Maffei, actually, about whether he'd be traded but we have kind of covered that. I think we all unanimously agree that he probably stays on the roster, but his time's done. I don't think he's getting extended. So we did have that question.
There's this one here about, so we mentioned Jackson Powers-Johnson.
Yeah.
And firstly, Jonas has asked a question. Bryce, what would you imagine the Raiders want for JPJ?
Good question. 2 years in, right?
2 years in, and 2 different seasons at 2 different positions, right? He played center as a rookie, which I thought he was one of the better young up-and-coming rookie centers in the league, and I was thinking, wow, the Raiders really got a steal. And then for some reason, Pete Carroll does what he tends to do with offensive linemen and decides to completely change their position and sticks him at right guard. And you heard all offseason, even on Max Crosby's podcast, Jackson Powers-Johnson was super excited. He's like, yeah, I can't wait to be center. Introduce himself to Ashton Genty. Hey, man, I'm your center. Don't worry, I got you. And then lines up at right guard. And then Pete gets asked about it. And Pete goes, yeah, no, he's going to stay at right guard. Like, that's where we're putting him. And it's just kind of like, I have friends that are diehard Raider fans that just cannot wrap their head around what is going on. It depends, I think, on what the plan is for the Raiders going forward into 2026. If Pete's sticking around, I think you might be able to get Jackson Powers-Johnson at a lesser value than if Pete's gone and the next, group looks at him, or even the ownership group looks at him and goes, no, he's like going to be a cornerstone of our offense. We're sticking him back at center. We're going to build around him and Colton Miller. So if Pete's sticking around, I think you could give, a 4th or a 5th, and maybe Maffei or, a player in that trade, very much like Patrick put there. Yep. I think you could do that and get Jackson Powers-Johnson. And maybe it might not even have to be Maffei. You may be able to throw, and I dare say, is if you maybe bump that to a 4th and it potentially has the opportunity of being a decent 4th, you may be able to throw like a Christian Haynes back and they can fill their guard spot. And you might be like, I know it sounds crazy to people because he hasn't played enough, but you've helped them by, trade a guard for a guard and add a pick, and the Raiders get a pick to help their rebuild. But you then get, in my opinion, a true center for this scheme. Yeah, Bradford's still there, and you can still address that through the draft, but getting JPJ as your center, I think you'd see an immediate increase in the run production on the Seattle Seahawks offensive line.
Why not trade for JPJ and then put him at right guard? That seems good. We could replace Bradford with JPJ, right? We could do that. He'd love that.
Just put Sundell there. We got 2 North Dakota states.
I'd cry too.
We had one here from Martin. Bryce, do you think our O-line play has actually improved, or is Darnold doing a better job of masking the flaws?
So I think there has been improvement, yes. But I think the biggest thing you're seeing, and it's something I talked about all offseason about this scheme, play action and slightly moving the pocket helps your O-line by re-establishing where the pocket is and doesn't allow a D-line to tee off on you. That's where we got into trouble last year because of the lack of the play action, and it was always drop back. D linemen can pinpoint where that quarterback's roughly going to be and collapse the pocket. However, when we're booting and we're sliding and we're coming out of play action and we're running the ball with enough consistency of just calling run plays, D linemen cannot tee off. They have to hesitate for that half-second check. Is it a run? Okay, now I got to continue with my rush. That's what's making the O-line see this vast improvement. And I think you are seeing some improvement. I think next year you'll see even more improvement in pure drop back situations.
Yeah. Okay. Can I just say, Martin, as well? I love your little your logo there. Leave me not into temptation. Oh, who am I kidding? Follow me. I know a shortcut. Yeah, I mean, I think the JPJ talk would be amazing, but again, whether it's Gino or Pete that the Raiders keep, I think they've got to look at JPJ. And like you said, he's a cornerstone there. You know, when he was a Duck, he was fantastic as well. I really wanted him for us. But it depends what Pete's going to do. Is he going to keep tinkering? Is he going to try to do something else? Are they going to try to bring another coach in? Yeah, who knows? But I mean, there's been so many comments that it's very hard to keep track of. And I really, really appreciate everyone joining in because it's always great when we get to do these crossover pods with Bryce at the Hawkseye. We've been doing crossover pods with Bryce in some way, shape, or form since the inception of our pod, really. And this has been brilliant. Before we do go, for anyone who's following through our channel who may not have seen you, Bryce, where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm on YouTube at the Hawkseye Podcast. So you can find me there. You can find me on Spotify and on Twitter at the Seahawks Eye. And it's all kind of there at the lower part. There you go, right there. Perfect. Thank you, sir. But yeah, so that's where you guys can find my stuff. Got a couple cool shows. Got a live show Wednesday night with Michael Thompson from Field Goals and Dan Vians. Call it Seahawks Aftermath. We'll kind of break down this game and then what we're looking for this team to fix in the bye. Got a Hawks Film Lab where I do all 22 breakdowns, and then we'll have Corbin Smith on this week to kind of get his take on where this team's at going into the bye. So a couple cool guests, couple cool shows coming out. But yeah, if you want to jump on over there and sub up, feel free.
Awesome. And obviously you can catch Bryce in our Discord as well. If you want to join the Discord, the link is down below on our video, and it's also in the comments that Mitch has popped in there. And if you want, by all means, like and subscribe to our show as well. We are a growing community. We're the UK Seahawks official podcast, and we love what we're doing and just connecting with 12s all over the world. And we get to have awesome conversations with people like Bryce as well. I've really enjoyed this. I am still absolutely shattered from the weekend. Not as tired as some other UK Seahawkers and European Seahawkers who stayed up to watch this game. Because as Jonas put very kindly, I'm finally awake because I completely missed my alarm. Oh, well, never mind. I'll catch the next one. We've got the bye week coming up, so I know Bryce is going to have some things coming up. We'll have something coming out as well. Hopefully, we'll get Bryce and maybe someone else to come on and talk about it. You can join us on either of our platforms. It has been an absolute pleasure podcasting for you guys. Thanks so much for joining. And are we going to try it? Is it going to happen this time?
We're going to try it.
We're going to try it.
Are we going to succeed?
Will it be successful? So we try and finish on a Go Hawks on the 12 Talk podcast in unison with our guest. So, gentlemen, I will count us down from 3.
Are we going on 1 or like after 1?
We'll go right after 1.
Okay.
Are you ready? From the 12 Talk pod, from the Hawkseye pod, thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy your bye week. And on 3, 2, 1, go Hawks.